to the bag, god damn it. Lord woke us up, we might as well get to this bag. Now, Happy New Year to everybody. It is January 2nd. We're about a month away from your boy's B-Day 33, more life and more blessings. Unfortunately, the new year was brought in with terrible news because, if you didn't know, there was a terroristic attack in New Orleans where a lunatic by the name of Shamsuddin Jabbar drove a pickup truck onto Bourbon Street with people on it. 15 people lost their lives in this terroristic attack. They're still trying to figure out who he was working with. They know he wasn't working alone. They said that the vehicle was, they got the vehicle off Toro. And the crazy thing about that is the terroristic attack that happened in Vegas, where a Cybertruck pulled up to the north side of Vegas, where Trump Tower was, and then it just blew up. Now, it looked like they had fireworks in there, but that pretty much what happened with that. And that vehicle was acquired off Toro. So they're trying to see if these things are linked. Now, for me, such a heinous act on New Year's Eve, and then, an explosion in front of Trump Towers in a Cybertruck. I mean, it doesn't get more send a message than that, in my opinion. So definitely a terrorist attack. Now they saying the guy, Dean Jabbar, had an ISIS flag in his truck, and I think he had IDFs. I'm not sure. And I think he had some other weapons as well. And they stopped him on the scene. Now, it's very crazy because this is just when they said there was going to be national security risks because of the 10 million plus people that were brought in to the country that weren't vetted properly. And then you have someone like, Dean Jabbar, who, from what authorities say, he was born in Texas. They're running, they think he was in real estate. And he must have been an ISIS sympathizer. The radicalism and the romanticizing of terrorism is something that came about with the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Because once that conflict started, you start to hear outrageous narratives. People actually sympathizing with them, sympathizing with other groups like Osama bin Laden, I don't see their perspective, right? You start to hear that narrative. You start to see that. Then what happened? You had college campuses taken over last year, completely taken over by these radical groups. And now you got, boom, an attack, right? This is what happens when you allow radicalism to get out of control. This is exactly what happens when it goes unchecked. It goes unchallenged, right? And a lot of these narratives have gone unchallenged. If anything, there's been gasoline poured on a lot of these narratives, right? So, prayers up to all the people in New Orleans who lost loved ones or were injured or just was at the event and, just seeing there, is traumatized. Hopefully they can get a lot of support and love from the rest of the nation through this hard time, because it's a hard way to start the year, to go somewhere just to, bring in the year, relax and have a good time, and then, some lunatic comes and does some nonsense like this just to send a message, So we got to see what's up. For me, I definitely think these two instances are linked. Now, with the cyber attack, Elon Musk said the team's looking at it. They never seen nothing like it. They're trying to understand what's going on. Now, this could be an attack, right, to send some type of message as far as a pushback on the mass deportation, because that's really the only thing that's been, a huge topic of discussion, because Trump's not even in office yet. And it could be leaning in that direction. But all I know is we had a lot of crazy stuff happening towards the end of the year, and this is a crazy, crazy way to start the year. So hopefully they can find out some information as soon as possible, and we can find out who is involved, and there can be heavy, heavy, heavy consequences. Because the thing about it is this: you have to be absolute. You have to be very hard in a response when stuff like this happens, in my opinion. You have to completely demoralize the group that's trying to send whatever message, whatever they're trying to do. You gotta make it feel small, and you have to be a non-stop, relentless onslaught on the group until they are annihilated. They are no longer a group. They're no longer a faction. That's what happened to ISIS before. And I guess, I don't know, I guess they want to come back to her, but it ain't going down. Because this administration with Tom Homan, okay, and Pam Bondi, all right, and all the people, Pete Hegseth, and all the people that's going to be put in position, they're going to take stuff like this very seriously. And I definitely want to see heavy consequences for those involved in planning this, to make an example out of them. For real. That's how it's got to be. And that's going to quell a lot of this radicalism that's going on, because things are just getting out of hand. They're getting way out of hand. And hopefully this is not a trend that's going to follow in this new year. Now, to end the year, Netflix dropped season 2 of Squid Games. Watched it, and I'm gonna be honest. One, I'm gonna give a light spoiler review. I'm not gonna try to go through the whole thing. I'm just gonna say that first and foremost, it took too damn long to get to the actual games. Okay, if it's like a 6-episode season, I felt like it took 3 episodes to get to the games. I feel like the games were more group oriented than individually based, which I didn't like. And then also, I feel as though there were some contradictions and motives in the series as well. And also, there were characters in the show that weren't really, like in the first Squid Games, you can see the constant fear and how intense the situation was. Even those people who wanted to keep playing, you can see that they were changed by the games, but they were, at the same time, they were scared, for their lives, and that pushed them to do more, to do better. That's why the main character was kind of like a loser, and he became something different at the end. But it's like these games, it's like there's really not a lot of character development of the characters. Some characters change, but most of them are pretty stagnant, and then there's really not a lot of payoff, and they're not as fearful of the games. Especially this one guy who's just like a rapper. He's just like, he was having the time of his life. That shit was kind of like taking away the seriousness, I guess, of the show. All in all, they're saying season 3 is going to be better. For me, I think this is pretty valid. 2.5. You can give it 3 if you'd like. I think it's around 2.5. I think when you pair it with season 3, since they probably did it like a 2-part of one season, then maybe it'll rise it to 3 or 4. But all in all, kind of disappointed. Well, another college football season's done, sadly, for my Alabama Crimson Tide. We lost to Michigan, and we're just not what we were. I don't think it's time to go full-blown panic. I think Jalen Milroe's draft status definitely took a hit. Definitely probably a second or maybe even third rounder now. And yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in the future, Alabama. But yeah, the Nick Saban era is officially done. It's done, man. Get to that bag, goddammit.